I am Dr. Tracy Spencer Sandolph. I'm married. I'm married to Mr. Wayne Sandolph. We have a blended family. We have 4 children, 1 son and 3 girls. And I currently live in Lithia, Florida. I was born and raised in Virginia. My status is I was retired military, retired as a sergeant major in the United States Army, and currently now I run a nonprofit organization. So I had a small family growing up. It was only my sister and I. We lived in the country, so we took care of the cows, the pigs, and hogs, and all of that. And we had a garden, farming, and stuff like that. My mom and dad, we didn't have the best childhood, more dysfunctional. But my dad died when I was 12 years old. My dad was abusive to my mom. And so I grew up in a household where a lot of abuse was going on. I was not a happy child growing up. I think just because I was in a domestic violence household and I saw my mom being abused, so it was hard to sit there and watch her be abused. We would go to my grandmother's house, like when she would get off work to go eat. I didn't even want to go back home because I knew the fighting would occur, the arguing would occur, and it would make me nervous. So I have 1 sibling. I have, her name is Angie, and we were okay. It was, I won't say we were distant, but I wouldn't say we were like really close. We're closer now than we were growing up. I have some good memories. We would hang out, my sister, my family members, my cousins, and we would just run around and play, find different games to play, 1, 2, 3 red light and all that. I mean, that's what we would do pretty much in the summertime when we didn't have summer school or whatever. I think significant was when I saw my dad pull a gun to my mom's head and he was getting ready to shoot her. And we were screaming, "Please don't kill Mom." So I think that's probably one of my most painful memories being young. I think the beliefs that formed for me was, I don't think I ever wanted to, or at least I told myself I never wanted to be in a marriage and be abused. I don't understand how somebody can say they love you and then hurt the person that you say you love. So my high school sweetheart is my daughter's father, and we started dating probably when I was 15 years old, and we were together during high school, most of our high school year. He graduated 2 years before me, and then we continued to date, and then I think our paths just took us in different directions. Once I graduated from high school, I wanted different things, as well as I think I had a passion for wanting to do something different, and so our lives went in a different path. I was 20 when I had my first daughter, Megan. I joined the military because I was like, I need to do something. I didn't want to go to college. I was tired of school. I had a learning disability, so it was a struggle for me. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna join the Army. And I joined the Army, and then I realized, I'm ready to go back to school now. So I just stayed in the Army. I did 32 years in the Army. It's been good to me. You know, you have your ups and you have your downs throughout your military career, but overall it was good to me. I was deployed, and I went to Germany. Was there for, I think it was about 10 months I was there in Germany. I returned home with the secret, and I was pregnant. And so I had my second daughter, and her name is Chelsea. I had a lot of heartbreaks prior, even before I had deployed and things. But, I came back to the United States. I wanted a new beginning. So I moved, me and my oldest daughter at the time, because I hadn't had Chelsea. And it was good when we moved because it was fresh beginning. And then I met my husband at the time. Believe it or not, I met him online. And we just kind of talked for a while before I met him physically. And we had really good conversations. And then he invited me over for dinner. And so I went over, we talked, I enjoyed the conversations. And then, you know, about a year or so later, he proposed. So we were in the car and he pulled out the ring and he basically is like, look, we've been talking for a while and I want us to get married. So what do you think? And so I was excited. It was, I reflect back on, all the good conversations and stuff, and I didn't want to be alone. I think I was looking for something, not sure what it was, but I was looking for something, and we ended up we got married. I did. I believe I found the one. I was in love with him, and to me, it was a lifetime commitment. I think the good time that comes to mind first is when we took the kids, his two and my two, to Six Flags and to Atlanta. And it was great. It was his family came down and we all just enjoyed ourselves and just hung out and we ate and we were on the rides and everything. So I think that's one of the biggest highlights that I enjoyed. And then having his family come over to the house for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. I would actually say, even prior to us getting married, what I call now red flags, I thought it was love at the time. He would call me and be like, hey, I called you, you weren't at home, where were you? So I was like, oh, he's just checking on me to make sure that I'm good. But then later, after we got married, I noticed that his temperament with me would change. And the degrading comments were coming that you're no good and why you this. And it's just it was emotional abuse is what I was experiencing. But then we had one day in December, he had locked me out the house. My daughter, my Chelsea at the time, had gotten sick. And so I went to Walmart to get her some Tylenol and some medicine just to help from throwing up. And I told him I'd be back. But then I realized when I was in Walmart, we had our Christmas layaway, and that was the last day, and everything had to be picked up. So I called him and I explained to him, I said, hey, the kids' Christmas stuff is in layaway. It's going to be a minute because it's a long line, but I'll be there back in a little bit. And his comment, well, whoever that nigger you're with, you just stay with them. Don't come back home. And I'm like, I told you I'm at Walmart. That's where I am. And so I got the layaway. I went home and he had locked me out the house. Both doors were locked. And just the way that we go in the house, you pull under the car porch, but our bedroom door is always the entrance that we came in instead of the front door. And the storm door was locked. So I was knocking on the storm door. I went around to the front door. He would not let me in. So I saw a brick. So I was like, well, let me try to knock out some of the storm door so I can unlock and go in the house. And I guess he realized what I was doing because he opened up the door and he kicked through the glass door, the storm door, and kicked me into my chest, which I went flying back against the Durango at the time. And I just remember I was crying. I was like, just give me Chelsea. Just give me Chelsea. I'll go. Just give me Chelsea. And he told me no. So I went around to the front to go to my neighbor's house to see, if they could help me or call the police. And when he realized I was going around to the front, he opened the front door and I went in. And he, once I got in, he slammed the door, but then he pushed me down on the couch and he had pushed my neck one way, but my shoulder the other way. And I just call it an act of God because when my head was turned like this, we had the old rotary phone. And I was able to inch my way over there to it to pick it up to hit him across his head so he could let go of me and I could breathe. And I didn't have time, or at least I was thinking in my head, I didn't have enough time to grab Chelsea and get out the house and be safe. So I was like, I gotta just get out the house. And once I hit him, he fell over onto Chelsea, but I jumped up to run to the door, and I heard the glass table go up in the air. So he had gotten up, and it was a glass table. He had flipped it over, and he was coming after me. And by the time I reached for the door knob, I heard something hit the floor, and it was him. He had dropped to the floor holding his chest. And I had to make a conscious decision. I was like, is he faking? Because, at that time, so many things are going through your head. Do I stay? Do I check on him? Do I run out, get somebody to come in and check on him? Do I grab Chelsea? It was just so much. But I think because I loved him so much, I turned around to say, are you okay? Through all the tears and everything, he was just gasping. And so I went over to my neighbor's house. I called. I told my neighbor, the Pattersons, and they actually, we called 911. The police came, the paramedics and stuff came to the house. Went back over there. He was still on the floor. The paramedics was checking him out. They did transport him to the hospital. I got my daughter. The Pattersons were nice enough to keep Chelsea wide because I did not realize, maybe the adrenaline, I was bleeding. Apparently I had cut myself in the midst of with the glass door and everything. And so they was like, you need to go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital, and so that kind of is one of the incidents. I left. I left because of two things. I needed to leave, but my command really forced me to leave. Being in the military and going through what I went through, they actually pulled me into the commander's office, and I had to sign a counseling to state I had to move from my house. They literally was like, well, the kids have to stay, they can stay there, but you have to move on post into the barracks. And I was like, I'm not leaving my kids with him. And I was like, can I go out and find an apartment? And so I did. I went out, I found an apartment, and I moved into the apartment. When we went back to the house, I had some people to help me. All my stuff was out in the yard. So I did. I moved into an apartment, and we were there, and I thought I was finding myself, getting to know who I was. But I call it the honeymoon phase because he started calling. I wanted to say hi, see the kids and how you doing. And, the flowers and everything. It was like he was romancing me again. I went back. It started out okay. As he said, he would never hit me again. He would never hurt me or anything like that. It lasted for a few months. And then it started happening all over again. Everything always started out with the emotional abuse. And then it leads up to the physical. So we had moved into our new house, and I have really bad allergies. And so I woke up, it was about maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. I smelled smoke. And I was like, what is that smell in here? So I realized he wasn't in the bed. I got up, I went, looked through the house, I didn't see him. So I was like, well, the light is on in the bathroom. Let me go in the bathroom and see if he's in there. But as I was going into the bathroom, he was coming out, and he gave me this smile. And I'm like, are you smoking in the house? And he didn't say anything. He just smirked and walked past me and went on into another part of the house. Well, I looked around in the bathroom. I didn't see anything. I'm a creature of habit. Everything is always the same with me. I always prep the night before with my clothes. And so I left all of my clothes in the bathroom and prepared because I was a recruiter at the time. And he apparently, I woke up late the next morning from being interrupted with the sleep. So I was rushing. I took my shower and everything, and I put on my underwear, and then I started to put on my pants. I felt like a really warm sensation in my underwear. And I pulled my underwear down. I pulled the pants down my underwear, and I'm like, why am I burning? So I took a wet rag, and I just started wiping like down there. And I'm like, and it's intensified. And I picked up my underwear, and I was like, the smell, like, what is that smell? And what I realized, it was the extra strength capsaicin cream that I use for my muscles to help with sore muscles. He apparently lined my underwear with it, and I didn't know. And so by me rubbing it, it intensified because I was rubbing it internally in my female area. So I picked up my underwear, I put it in a Ziploc bag, and I went to the emergency, the closest one that I could get to. And they told me they couldn't see me. So they said I had to go on post. So I went on Fort Bragg and went to the ER. I told them exactly what had happened, and I was burning. And so they numbed me and to take some of the sensation away. And so, long story short, the police came to the hospital and everything. They got a warrant for his arrest. And so that was that. So when the police arrested him, and part of the restraining order, he could not come back to the house. And so I felt safe, after that with the restraining order. However, it intensified the situation with him. He was pissed. So he decided that he was going to retaliate. And my husband and I, we had taken some nude pictures and stuff like that. He's taken pictures of me when we were together and stuff like that. He took one of the nude pictures and he had typed on it Army of One on it. And he literally posted all the pictures around the shopping center at the Utah Shopping Center. Also, how he got into the recruiting station. I have some ideas, but I don't know for sure. But he put nude pictures of me all around inside of the recruiting station on people's desks. And he faxed the pictures to our brigade. My station commander called me and she asked where I was. And I says, well, I'm at the school getting ready to go in and get a transcript for a potential prospect. And she says, no, I need you to come straight to the station. And I was like, everything okay? And she's like, whatever you're doing, I just need you to come straight to the station. And I'm like, is my kids okay? Is my mom? Because I started to panic, like, why is she calling me? But I went to the station, and as soon as I walked in, I felt all eyes on me. And I'm like, what is going on? Went to her office, and the commander, first sergeant, and the station commander were in there, and they were looking at me. And they said, we need you to sit down. And, I'm nervous at this point. And so she handed me a manila folder, or envelope, and she says, I want you to pull out what's in here. And it was a picture of me, nude, very provocative picture. And it had Army of One on it. And she says when one of our other recruiters came in this morning, he found all these pictures of you. And so she said they tried to get everything down. They went around the whole building. They had already called the police to come and try to do some fingerprints and stuff. But that was one of the most humiliating things that I've been through. So not only that, he decided that he called the 2-star general to say that I was getting housing allowance and wasn't entitled to it because he's not in the home. And so the last thing you ever want to do is have a 2-star general calling you. And so he called a meeting for me and my commander, and then the brigade commander. We all had to report to Raleigh-Durham and explain why I wasn't giving him any of the housing allowance. And so, but the good thing about it was all the abuse was substantiated. And the commander, we got all the evidence to give to the general. And General Bostic was able to have JAG write a letter stating that he wasn't entitled to any of our housing allowance, and that he wasn't even allowed to come on the property where the recruiting station was anymore. I did. I filed for divorce, and I also moved from Fort Bragg to another area, and then I went on deployment. Emotionally, I was a mess. Because I said I wasn't going to become that person. I wasn't going to stay with someone that abused me. But I think what I learned by seeing my mom be abused,
she stayed with my dad. So I think it was okay, you know, from between watching my mom stay there, going to my pastor saying, you know, pray about it. I was trying. I did not want my marriage to fail. I truly believed in my vows to death do us part. But it didn't happen, so life after divorce, it was picking up the pieces, trying to find out who I was. And it took a while. However, I have remarried, and my husband is remarkable. I'm still finding my way through it, but it's good to have a husband that he knows where I've come from. He's non-judgmental, and so he still loves me in regards to my flaws that I have. No, I was not ready to be a mom when I became a mom. However, I wouldn't change it. My daughters are like night and day. They each have different personalities, but I try to take my experience and share that with them, what I went through, because I want them to know that domestic violence isn't okay. And it's okay if you're in it to leave it. You don't have to stay in it. I don't know what my favorite story is. I'll say that I spend time with each one of them individually. We all we've lived together as me being mom and them growing up, but this like 8 years apart. And so, you know, what me and one may do, the other's like, I'm not doing that. And the other one be like, come on, mom, let's do this. So I want them to be happy. I want them to experience what true love is. And just to know that I love them. That's it. When you can share your story and they can see the brokenness of what all I've been through, and he doesn't judge me, and he still loves me for who I am and supports me and my dreams and ambitions. And even with my military career, he has taken me wherever I need to go to ensure that I am okay. And he's a great provider. He was the one. I think my most profound spiritual moment was when I was sitting on the floor and we had to sell the house that we had gotten together. And I was crying like, God, I don't understand. I have been faithful. I'm doing what you've asked me to do. And I don't understand why I'm going through this abuse. This is not love, but God, I don't understand. And at that moment, I have a sobering moment. It's like God spoke to me and says, because this is your ministry, and you cannot minister to women that have been abused unless you went through it. And I take away from that is, although yes, I have some scars and some wounds, but he still shielded me from so much. So that is probably my most spiritual awakening moment. If I could talk to myself, the younger version. You are pretty, you're beautiful, you're strong, and you can do anything that you want to do. I think I'm living the best life now. I had a rough childhood. I had a rough marriage. And so I look back and say, God, I thank you for it. And it hurt going through, but I think it shaped me into the woman that I am now. I think I would like to be remembered helping other abuse victims of domestic violence, helping them sort through the pieces and showing them that there's a world out there and go get what you want. I think for generations that will be watching this later on, I think I would say spend time finding out who you are. Learn your own identity. Don't allow what people say and what they want you to be dictate on who you are. Find out who you are yourself. If I listen to what my heart is trying to tell me, I'll be free.